Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful Sunday so far, and welcome back to Imperfect Politics. Now, do I have a good one for you today? Looks like Justin Trudeau was doing some announcements at an aerospace tech company on Friday in Quebec. He was announcing a $2.1 billion contract to Telesat for some Lightspeed constellation satellites for internet and the kind of outer regions of Canada. Interesting thing is, though, Elon Musk came out and started saying they could just use Telesat for way cheaper. And with no further ado, let's get into it. But before that, if you like this stuff, if you could please subscribe, that would be awesome, and give it a like. Now, let's go to the video.
A year ago, we were honored to receive a $2.1 billion contract from Telesat, the largest in MDA history, to design, manufacture, and assemble 198 satellites for the Telesat Lightspeed constellation. The trust and confidence that Dan and his team have placed in MDA to build their world-leading constellation has brought us here today. Just outside this room, construction is underway on a 185,000 that will double the size of MDA's satellite production facility. Once completed, it will be the world's largest high-volume manufacturing facility in its satellite class, with capacity to deliver up to 2 satellites each day. I want to thank Premier Legault and the Government of Quebec for providing critical funding to support the construction of our new facility. We are in the process of hiring 600 more high-skilled technology employees to bring it to life right here in Quebec. And it is here, in this new facility, where the Telesat Lightspeed constellation will be manufactured. These are not traditional satellites. Powered by MDA Aurora, a new next generation of digital satellite technology that we announced earlier this year, these satellites will deliver a level of performance, flexibility, and affordability that is changing the game for satellite operators and for MDA. A few years ago, MDA's Vice President of Satellite Systems, Luigi Pozzebon, and his team here in St. Anne first mapped out a design for a new type of digital satellite. Digital technology permeates almost every aspect of our daily lives on Earth, but it's new in the satellite industry, where the technical requirements to operate in space, some of the harshest environmental conditions anywhere, are extreme, requiring a level of hardened architecture. The unique room you are sitting in today allows us to test our satellite antenna performance for these harsh environments. What Luigi and the MDA team here in Montreal are doing with MDA Aurora is truly world-leading, best-in-class satellite innovation that is helping drive the global satellite industry forward at a time of massive change. The global space industry is at an inflection point, with the global space economy growing from $630 billion a year today to approximately $1.8 trillion a year in the next decade. And we are bringing MDA Aurora to market to meet and maximize that moment. As Dan has told our team, he didn't select MDA because we are Canadian. He picked us because we had the technology and the team he trusted to bring the Telesat Lightspeed vision to market. We all share that vision. The communication services that Telesat Lightspeed will deliver to people in Canada and around the world will advance us all. To our government, business, and community partners here today, thank you for helping us build and bring to market the best space innovation in the world. It is now my honor to introduce the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Now, that was just a short clip on what Telestat actually is. So they're saying it's innovative, the best in the world, nothing like it. Canadians just spent $2.1 billion on satellites that Elon Musk just said he already has up there, and we Canadians don't really need to spend this money on. But let's see if that's actually true. There's an article from the National Post. Sorry. Before we get to Justin Trudeau's speech on this, I'm gonna be nice today because it's a Sunday. Or try to. And let's look at what the National Post says. So when Elon Musk's satellite offer to Canada. So Elon Musk actually offered this to Canada. our liberal minister said it was nonsense. And yes, this was from the National Post, written by Ari David Blaff. So let's thank him for writing this. So, Telesat satellite Earth station relied on the bulk of telecommunications in Nunavut, capital in Iqaluit. They say Canada's industry minister dismissed on Saturday as nonsense, as Elon Musk suggested that his satellite company, Starlink, could provide Canadians with internet access at a fraction of the federal government's newest plan. And I want people to remember that in the Ukraine war, they were using Starlink to run their communications. So when he says that people up north in Canada can use Starlink, I don't think he's lying. That makes total sense. But let's go down before I rant about it. So, yes, they use this to bring communications to remote places in the country. We're going to go through what Prime Minister is going to say. This deal was condemned by Conservative MP Michelle Barrett, representing the Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes riding, who asked Musk online to weigh in on the matter. Hey, at Elon Musk, how much would it cost to provide Starlink to every Canadian household that doesn't have high speed? The parliamentarian asked on X on Saturday morning if this $2.14 billion plan is the pinnacle of expanding access, competition, and service. Where is the interest from private investors and banks? So, no. We just heard from the owner of Telesat that this was the pinnacle of innovation. There's nothing like this in the world. This is going to be the world's best communications satellites ever. Remember, it wasn't even, they didn't say anything about competition here. And I don't think really using government money to get all this started is or this much is competition. So the billionaire founder of Tesla responded to Barrett later in the day, asserting that Starlink could have provided the service for less than half the amount. Musk's comments prompted Barrett to call it a common sense solution for Canada. Less than half. So I want to remind everybody that Canada and Canadians are $1.2 trillion in debt, yet we're spending twice as much on something that's already exists that can be given to Canadians who don't have it. Now, I don't actually mind the government finding a cheap way of giving these people in remote areas communications and Wi-Fi, because these places are like places you have to fly in with a plane. And when I say they're remote, they're remote. So they need internet, and that'll make them more productive, means more tax revenue, yada, 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 means more money into the coffers, right? But what does our minister say about spending twice as much and why they didn't use Starlink? I have my own ideas on why that is. The exchange drew the ire of Champagne, little man up in Ottawa, who denounced Barrett's challenge by taking a shot at the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Typical Pierre. Polyev nonsense. The industry minister weighed in on Saturday night. They'd prefer giving money to foreign billionaires instead of supporting our industry and our workers. This loan would help build a world-class Canadian-made satellite network and supports thousands of jobs in Quebec. Now that's common sense. Yeah, common sense. See, this is where the liberals just tick me off. It's common sense to pay twice as much for a similar product. That's nuts, especially when we need that money, that federal money. And let's remember that that Canada has the most expensive internet pretty much of the whole world. Oh, well, the whole developed world. It's nuts. The United States, it costs the users way less money to get internet. And I know what you might say is, oh, well, Elon Musk used like federal American money to get his internet company, Starlink, all up and running. Well, that's awesome. Like, isn't that awesome that Canadians can reap the benefits of the American government starting up Starlink? And we get to pay less as Canadians for that? Why wouldn't a normal government take that on? That's craziness. So let's keep on going. A similar deal inked by the federal and Ontario governments last August awarded Rogers Communication, of course, Rogers Communication. Let's just keep going. I have my own thing. $250 million to expand its fiber optic network for rural communications across the province, according to the National Post. Tristan Hopper had Starlink instead had been commissioned to connect roughly 66,000 households to their satellite grid. It would have cost Canadians under $50 million. And this is the problem with Canada. We're so socialist that we're not just socialist. We're like an oligarchy socialist up here where our government doesn't care about money. It doesn't care about the taxes that Canadians give the government. How should I say this? Even if it's a conservative government, because the Ontario government is the Ford government, we give these massive Canadian companies, like Rogers is huge, and they're the worst company to be with because if you just want one plan, it's about at least $100 and some because they don't do individual plans, they do group plans. Telus, for internet or for phone plans, with actually like enough gigabytes and enough memory to run your phone, it's about $100 a month. And for good internet at home, it's about $55 a month. Now, you might say, as a Canadian, that that's not that bad. But remember, that $55 a month is just internet. That's not TV or anything. And then you might say, especially if you're American, well, you could just hop companies. Back in the day, you were able to do that. Not now. Not now. Now, it's literally an oligarchy where all of the companies, they have a similar amount every single month that you have to pay. None is cheaper. Or it's like cheaper for a month and then it goes up to the same. And I can tell you that. Um, and anyways, so this Rogers company, they own so much shit. They own um the Rogers Center here in Edmonton, where you play like hockey and all that. They have all of this money, yet they can't um, spend their own money on building out this network, or they can't. For some reason, they can't match Starlink's 50 million, which that's what the government should be doing. They should be like, okay, well, if Elon Musk can do it for 50 million, hey Rogers, why can't you do this for 50 million, like any private company would do? Why didn't they go back to Telesat and be like, okay, Telestat, so Starlink can do it for $10 billion. Uh, can you make these satellites for $10 billion? If not, we're gonna go with Elon Musk's Starlink, like any private company would. But of course, they don't care about saving Canadians money, and they blame it on oh, we're giving Canadians job, even though we're gonna either tax Canadians more because of this, or we're gonna make Moneymaker go burr. Anyways, enough of my rant. I've been ranting about this for way too long. So they go on to say internet speeds across the Starlink network of more than 6,000 satellites range from 25 to 220 megabits per second, which Canadian residential users pay over $100 monthly for access to Musk's expanding network, with vehicle mounted roaming plans across North America as high as $250. The company plans on having over 40,000 satellites in orbit. And I looked at the plans, and the $250 is crazy high. Or that's for businesses and companies. Households would not need to use that. Now I don't. That $100 monthly for access to Musk's network, like I said, is a lot higher than the $55 per month, right? But let's see in Northwest Territories how much they pay on average for internet. So the 25 to 220 megabits is can be slower than the internet that we've got here, but do the residents need that fast of internet? Can they run everything off of the 25 to 220 megabits per second? It is up north, so it is like super cold and super windy and stuff like that. So why didn't the government roll out a couple of these Starlinks? Not too many, so it doesn't cost Canadians very much. But do that. See if it's good or good enough, and then start rolling all of these Starlinks out. I don't understand why they didn't try doing that. And if it all works, then just go with Starlink. But the thing is, I think why they didn't do that is could you imagine the media backlash if it came out that the liberals gave Elon Musk this much money to buy Starlink? Because they'd say, oh, they provided Elon Musk with this much money. They wouldn't say anything about giving internet to these outer portions of Canada. Oh, no, no, no. They'd be providing a really bad man, because that's what a lot of these radical liberals and our liberal government think of Elon Musk. They think of him as like the worst man ever because he's an advocate for free speech. And I think ideology is why they didn't provide or they didn't even test this out. Not because they wanted to give Canadians jobs. Anyways, other than that, that's all I got for you right now. I'm going to end this on Trudeau's speech so we can have a little bit of fun from watching him. Or for some of you, you might want to click off now if you don't like watching Trudeau's speeches. And I think later tonight I'll come out with the question and answer period to this. So, with no further ado, let's get into his speech.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci Mike de m'avoir.
Hello everyone, thank you Mike for having welcomed me to MDA once again. It's always impressive to see what you're working on here at MDA.
For inviting me here to this spectacular facility for today's announcement. Toujours un plaisir d'être ici.
It's always a pleasure to be here with Premier Legault, Minister Christine Frechette, and with the Mayoress of Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue. It's always a good day when we're announcing good news and investment in our future with François-Philippe Champagne, supported by the local member of Parliament, Francis Scarpaleggia. We're doing that to make sure that good jobs are created here in this area and also across the country. Francis, thank you for the work you've done to bring this to fruition. Well, look, we're at a point where investing in a future is essential. A confident country invests in its citizens, it invests in its workers, and this is what we must continue to do, even at a time of challenges. We must be there and look to the future. Since the beginning of aviation and space exploration, Canada and Quebec have been leaders in this sphere. Our aerospace and space industries contribute $29 billion to our Canadian GDP. They support more than 210,000 well-paying jobs across the country and support many communities, including many in Quebec, like the one here in Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue. But more than that, it's really the work done by this industry, including the work done by homegrown workers, which drive our modern world: GPS, weather forecasting, satellite TV, internet. These are things that would not exist without Canadian aerospace and space industry workers. This is why our government is very, very proud to be a champion for the aerospace industry.
Industrial strategy to build a strong economy fit for the 21st century. We're investing $250 million to help the industry get back on its feet after the pandemic. We're creating a national space council to secure Canada's future as a leader in the global space race. And we've earmarked $1.75 billion through our Strategic Innovation Fund to position Canada as a global leader in the space and aerospace sector. But
the work we have to do to support industry and our ingenuity and our workers.
See, like I said, that's awesome that Canada will have internet out in these remote areas. And now that the government says that, oh, it's going to be like, we don't want Elon Musk's here because we don't want a foreign entity to have control over our internet. Sure, I actually do understand that if Canada does something that Elon Musk doesn't agree with, if he shuts the internet down to our north, that would be incredibly bad. Make a deal with him that he cannot do that. Or at least say to Telesat, like I said before, hey, Elon Musk can do this for half the amount. We want this to be Canadian. If you can't do it to a similar amount, then we're going to give this to Elon Musk. Because like I said, I kind of understand not wanting a private businessman to own that much of our satellite, of our internet, but use it as a negotiation or something, at least.
Well, this work is never done. This is why we're taking action today. Today, through a loan from our government, Telesat will be moving forward with this light-speed network. It'll be a network made up of 175 satellites. This is the biggest in our history. This network will be built here in MDA facilities in Montreal, and it will allow us to expand access to high-speed internet, especially in rural communities and Aboriginal communities across the country. This network will allow us to modernize our satellite communications network to protect our country and our NATO allies. And this network will allow us to support thousands of well-paying jobs, which foster the development of communities in Quebec and across the country.
When you think about this project that we're launching right now, you see real impact. You see that not only the great jobs and the global leadership that workers here at MDA and across our aerospace industry are continuing to lead the way on, but you see impacts right across the country and around the world. Think of a far-off, remote Indigenous community that has spotty internet connection, where the kids have to go to school remotely but can't rely on the connections to actually follow through. This is about making sure that they have affordable access to connecting with the world. Now think of a distant mine or a forestry company needing to make sure that its employees, its workers, can stay connected via FaceTime to their kids, given the long hours and the weeks that they work remotely, building the grounding of our natural resources industry. These are things that make a difference in people's lives. The world needs to stay connected, and Canada, quite frankly, is one of those countries that does a better job of bringing people together than just about anyone else in the world. And now we get to do that to some of the most advanced technology that the world will continue to need to rely on for decades to come. That's what this investment is about. Yes, it's about investing in satellites and space and all sorts of really cool stuff. But it's fundamentally about making sure that Canadians and people in more distant communities, in smaller northern communities, and in remote parts of the world can be connected to the transformation and the progress that the world is seeing at increasingly destabilizing speeds. On top of everything that we're doing, Telesat will be investing over $4.4 billion back into the Canadian economy through research and development. They'll be launching hundreds of co-op positions for post-secondary students, and they're providing scholarships geared towards supporting women and Indigenous youth pursuing education in STEM. The good news doesn't stop there. MDA has already broken ground on a 185,000 square foot expansion of this facility to accommodate the demands from satellites from Telesat, which will basically create the most advanced assembly line for satellites in the world, which, yes, is how we're going to get those almost 200 Lightspeed satellites up as quickly as possible, but how the world will then look to Canada to build reliable satellites quickly and affordably right here in Canada, creating even more jobs, creating hundreds more high-skilled, good-paying jobs right now and long into the future. This is exciting. This is exciting for Montreal that continues to be a leader in aerospace, but it's exciting for Canada that continues.
Wow, sorry about the shoddiness. This is not my internet. This is... Come on, guys. During these interviews, you really got to get your stuff together. But I wonder, is Telesat going to give these remote areas and, well, all areas of Canada discounted internet because we're giving them $21 billion to expand? This massive company, they're not a small business. So this massive company, are they going to give all of their customers a discounted internet? No, I doubt that. I bet it will increase. And I bet you that in these remote areas, it's going to be more for the internet. Or the government, they'll come out and say, oh, because all of these communities don't have the money to pay for their internet every month, they're going to subsidize it. So I think it's funny how our government is giving massive amount of monies to these massive corporations, and Canadians will get nothing back from it, the taxpayer. And I'm not saying the internet should be free, I'm saying it should be less, because we are giving that money. And Telesat should already be expanding their network, because they get to charge all of those people up north a monthly fee for their internet, because they ain't getting it for free. And yet our government comes out and says, oh, this is the best thing ever since sliced bread. Oh, we're doing this. Sure. I'd like to follow this and see how much it's going to cost people up north for this internet. And it's not going to come right away. You think, like, how many years is it going to take to build all of these satellites? Where with Elon Musk's Starlink, they could get it immediately, like right away. Friggin' a month from now, they can get internet, and we can get jobs there right away for Canadians, because these these satellite, or not the what are they called? These dishes, Starlink dishes. It's cold up north. It's harsh weather. These things are going to be breaking down a lot more than, or a lot faster than usual. So Elon Musk is going to have to pay all Canadians a lot more money to go out there and fix them every couple of months. And he's going to have to pay Canadians to wire them up, pay Canadians to drive them out, pay Canadians to do this, to do that, everything. So to think that Canadians aren't going to get jobs, aren't going to get trained, aren't going to get money for this consistently is craziness. But of course the government doesn't think about that either.
News to be out there connecting the world. C'est une situation où tout le monde est gagnant.
This is a situation which is a win-win for everyone. It's a victory for our innovative businesses like MD and Telesat. It's a victory for workers, which will now have access to more than 1,000 well-paying jobs. It's a victory for everyone who needs internet connection, which is affordable and high speed. This investment in the future of our space industry shows what's possible when a government believes in the importance of doing big things, when we use the best economic situation in the G7 to serve Canadians, when you believe that we can always do better, and when we make the necessary investments to make that happen, well, unfortunately, Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative philosophy is quite the opposite to ours. His conviction and his party's convictions are to move backwards in time, to reduce services and programs that help Canadians to move forward, to create division, to create anger, and to break down progress, to do the strict minimum by refusing to give Canadians the ability to believe in themselves. Responsible leaders don't do that. Confident countries invest in their future, in their workers, and in their communities as well. And that's exactly what we're doing today. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.
And that's all I got for you today, folks. Like I said, honestly, I think it would have been way better to either use Starlink as a negotiating tool to get the price lower, or use Starlink instead. And like write up in documents that he can't turn off the internet if Canada doesn't like, or if Elon Musk doesn't like what Canada does at some certain point in time. But what do you guys think? I've ranted enough about this. I think you guys know my views on it. What are your views on it? Should we get an American company to provide internet for Canadian users up north, or should we stick with a massive corporation in Canada that could have just built this themselves with the sheer amount of money that they have? Let me know in comments down below. And if you like this video, if you can like and subscribe, that would be awesome. If you want to donate to the channel, I have a Buy Me a Coffee link down below as well. Everything there goes back to the channel, making better and better videos, unless CPAC and Telesat's internet halts the video again. And other than that, have a great day.